We'll chant the Mangalachari prayers. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunditam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Sanam Rupaha Tadamahiyam Tadati Svabhavantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri-yutam Padakamalam Shri-gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri-rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadavaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Dalita Shri Vishakhanutamscha Nama Om Vishwapadaya Krishna Prishtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamini Namini Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Gamine Gaurti Shri Manaha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namaste Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishvano Sute Devi Namami Hari Priya वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानन्द श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासादि गौरभक्तवृन्द हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे कृष्ण नमोस्तुते व्यासविशालबुद्धे फुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्रे येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्ना पारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुहे नमः Hare Krishna. So welcome you all once again to Bhakti-sastri and Gita-sastri classes. We are studying from Introduction to Bhagavad-Gita as it is. And in the yesterday's session, we learned about Sanatana Dharma, the difference between Sanatana Dharma and religion, about the spiritual sky, right? All that we learned yesterday. Mhm. We continue from where we stopped. Introduction. So, yet Bhagavad Gita does not advise us to go to any of the planets in this material world because even if you go to Brahmaloka, the highest planet, through some sort of mechanical contrivance by maybe traveling for 40,000 years. And who would live that long? We will still find the material inconveniences of birth, death, disease, and old age. But one who wants to approach the supreme planet, Krishna Loka, or any other planet within the spiritual sky, will not meet with these material inconveniences. Amongst all of the planets in the spiritual sky, there is one supreme planet called Golok Vrindavan. the original planet in the abode of the original personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. All of this information is given in Bhagavad Gita, and we are given through its instruction information how to leave the material world and begin a truly blissful life in the spiritual sky. Mhm.
How many planets are there in spiritual
So
sky?
Bhagavad Gita in the Bhagavad Gita, um, there is little information given about the spiritual sky, the spiritual planets, the spiritual world. We don't get detailed description. That detailed description is available in other places like Srimad Bhagavatam, Brahma Samhita. But Bhagavad Gita only points out, okay, there is a place like that. Hmm. In the 15th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, the real picture of the material world is given. It is said there, Urdhamulam adaha shakham ashwatham prahuravyayam chandamsi yasya parnani yastang veda saveda. Here, the material world is described as a tree whose roots are upwards and branches are below. We have experience of a tree whose roots are upward. If one stands on the bank of a river or in a reservoir of water, you can see that the trees reflected in the water are upside down. The branches go downward and the roots upward. Similarly, this material world is a reflection of the spiritual world. The material world is but a shadow of reality. In the shadow, there is no reality or substantiality, but from the shadow, we can understand that there are substance and reality. In the desert, there is no water, but the Mirage suggests that there is such a thing as water. In the material world, there is no water, there is no happiness, but the real water of actual happiness is there in the spiritual world. So, in material world, you only see a reflection of the reality. But that reflection itself is so illusory and so attractive because of one being an illusion that one thinks that this is the reality. Hmm? One thinks that this is all, that's all, nothing more exists. So one has to come out of that illusion. Now, how to go to the spiritual world or how to go to spiritual sky? This is explained in this verse of Bhagavad Gita 15.5. Someone please read. Krishna Mataji, please read.
The Lord suggests that we attain the spiritual world in the following manner. Bhagavad Gita 15.5. Nirmana moha jita sanga dosha adhyatma nitya vinivrita kamaha द्वन्द्वैर् विमुक्ताः सुखदुःखसंज्ञैर् गच्छन्ति अमूढाः पदम् अव्ययम् तत्. The Padam Avyayam or eternal kingdom can be reached by one who is Nirman Moh. What does this mean? We are after designations. Someone wants to become Sir, someone wants to become Lord, someone wants to become the president or a rich man or a king or something else. As long as we are attached to these designations, we are attached to the body because designations belong to the body. But we are not these bodies, and realizing this is the first stage in spiritual realization. We are associated with the three modes of material nature, but we must become detached through devotional service to the Lord. If we are not attached to devotional service to the Lord, then we cannot become detached from the modes of material nature. Designations and attachments are due to our lust and desire, our wanting to lord it over the material nature. As we do not give up this propensity of lording it over material nature, there is no possibility of returning to the kingdom of the Supreme, the Sanatan Dham. That eternal kingdom, which is never destroyed, can be approached by one who is not bewildered by the attractions of false material enjoyments, who is situated in the service of the Supreme Lord. One so situated can easily approach that supreme abode. Prabhuji, should I continue reading?
Thank you, Mataji. So this is a very nice verse with very um, precise points on what are the qualities required if someone wants to go back to Godhead. Nirmana, nirmoha. Nirmana means one is free from false designations. Uh, Srila Prabhupada explains. And then nirmoha, one is also free from illusion. Jita sanga dosha, one has overcome the influence of the mode of ignorance and passion on one's life. Adhyatma nitya, one is 24 hours engaged in Krishna consciousness. Hmm. Vinivritta kamaha, one is free from material desires. Such a person who is not affected by the dualities of happiness and distress, that person can go to the spiritual world, spiritual abode. So the qualities are very clearly mentioned here. Next paragraph. Elsewhere in the Gita 8.21 it is stated, Avyaktvakshara ityuktastam ahu paramam gatim yam prapya na nivartante tadhama paramam mama. Avyakta means unmanifested. Not even all of the world, material world is manifested before us. Our senses are so imperfect that we cannot even see all of the stars within this material universe. In the Vedic literature, we can receive much information about all the planets, and we can believe it or not believe it. All of the important planets are described in the Vedic literatures, especially Srimad Bhagavatam. And the spiritual world, which is beyond this material sky, is described as avyakta, unmanifested. One should desire and hanker after that supreme kingdom. For when one attains that kingdom, he does not have to return to this material world. All this description of spiritual world is given for what reason? For what purpose? Why is all this information given here? Mhm.
To have a
To
desire,
do that
want
from
Okay,
to
to
have a
help us
des-
develop the desire that we want to go to that place,
yeah.
isn't it? That means such information should should create some sensation in our heart and in our mind, some kind of attraction, right, to such a place. That I wish I can be there. And till the time we don't develop attraction to that place, we will not go there. You know, one thing is you hear in a class, go back home, back to God. That's the purpose of life. But that is someone else telling you. And the other thing is you on your own develop the desire of going back home, back to God. Mhm. So if someone is telling us even millions of times that the purpose of life is to go back home, back to God, we will not go back home, back to God just by hearing that. Mhm. We will go back home, back to God by desiring to go back home, back to God. And that desire should come from one's own inside, isn't it? So this information is given to attract our mind, attract our hearts to such a place, right? And who can be attracted? That person can be attracted that who is optimistic about life, not the present life, but optimistic about a good life in future. Hmm? But for those who have become too much frustrated with existence itself, they will not develop any kind of sensation in heart on hearing or reading such information about the description of the spiritual world, that the spiritual world is such a nice, happy place. Mm. Mm. One will not develop any desire. So one has to um, one has to hear this information about the spiritual world with a very positive mindset that yes, there is a place like that, and if I wish seriously and strongly, I can also go to such a place. Mm. Then once that desire is developed, then one can put efforts to go to such a place, right? So Bhagavad Gita is not a book just for theoretically understanding. Like you memorize some shlokas and then you understand Bhagavad Gita. No, Bhagavad Gita is calling for action. Bhagavad Gita is giving a purpose very much different from the purpose we had before coming to Krishna consciousness. Before coming to Krishna consciousness, we had so many purposes. Now also we have many, many purposes in life. But Bhagavad Gita is asking us to make another very important purpose in life. And what is that purpose? Going back to God. It's giving us a goal. It's giving us a goal that our goal should be back to God. That should be our goal, right? Mm. So that is important here. And that's why this knowledge is given, this information is given. Next, one may approach, Srila Prabhupada is saying, next, one may raise the question of how one goes about approaching that abode of the Supreme Lord. So those who are interested to go there will naturally inquire, how can we go there? What is the way to go there? So Srila Prabhupada explains that is also given in Bhagavad Gita. Information of this is given in the 8th chapter. It is said there, what is said? Antakale cha mameva smaran muktva kalevaram yah prayati samadbhavam yati nasti atra samshayah. That at the time of death, whoever antakale means at the time of death, whoever smaran muktva kalevaram, mama smaran, mam eva smaran, whoever exclusively remembers Krishna, what happens? That person goes back to Krishna. Hmm. And whoever at the end of his life quits his body, remembering me alone, at once attains my nature. Of this there is no doubt. One has to remember Krishna at the time of death. That's the process. So how does one remember Krishna at the time of death? By practicing that remembrance throughout one's life. Then one can remember Krishna at the time of death. Isn't it? One of the
Prabhuji,
things, yes, Shweta Mataji.
sorry to interrupt. Uh, I have a question. What, like, um, uh, means, um, uh, some person gets frustrated from life, from job, from everything. Then he thinks, "Oh, I should go back to Godhead." And some person is happy in that state, that person think, I should go back to Godhead. So what is preferable? What does Krishna prefers? Because my Guru Maharaj says, if you are too much stressed up in life, you won't attract good fortune. You can attract good fortune when you are free in mind.
Yeah, that is
So
true. It's said in Srimad Bhagavatam, a
if
person
my
who is too a
please,
person who is, I understood your question, Nagaji. So now it is said in Srimad Bhagavatam, if someone is too miserable, that person can also not get Krishna consciousness. Or even if that person gets it, he or she cannot take complete advantage of it. And if someone is too happy in this material world, I mean, happy in the sense too much infatuated with everything in this material world, then that person can also not take advantage of Krishna consciousness. Hmm. Why? Because if someone is too infatuated, that person's mind is still completely absorbed in this world. That person has a lot of dreams here. I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll get this, I'll get that. And one life is not sufficient to fulfill all those dreams and desires, you know. So then that person is going to stay here. I mean, he's stuck here because his mind is stuck here. And then another category of people are those who are so miserable in life that they have forgotten to even dream about a good life. Uh, if you tell them, no, there is a better alternative to be happy, they'll say, no, no, I have tried everything. There's no way to be happy. Life is like this only. It is meant to suffer. Some people have come to this conclusion. Life is meant to suffer. And no matter how hard you try, you are going to suffer only. Isn't it? So such a person can also not be excited on hearing that no, there is a place which is full of happiness. because that person thinks I've tried everything, I've experienced everything, and there's nothing beyond it. So who can accept Krishna consciousness, like you said, Guru Maharaj said, whose mind is free? Now, what it means to have a free mind? It means to have an open mind. An open mind means you are ready to receive newer knowledge, newer prospectus, you know, newer sources of true happiness, and you are ready to give it a try. If someone doesn't have that positive attitude, that person cannot take advantage of this Krishna consciousness. Right? So therefore one has to be balanced, neither too miserable nor too infatuated with material. You need to have a little balanced nature, balanced approach. Then one can take very good advantage of Krishna consciousness. That is very true.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes, Pankaj.
What if we are in this miserable state and we want to uplift ourselves to that balanced state?
Yeah, good question. So when we are in too much of miserable state and we understand that this is not good for us. So how to uplift ourselves to the balanced state? By cultivating the quality of gratitude. Because a person is miserable due to lack of gratitude. As soon as you start cultivating gratitude, what is that gratitude? Fine, I have problems in life, but still I have some good things also. And Krishna has given those good things to me. So let me be thankful to Krishna for those good things. So when I start cultivating that gratitude, then slowly, slowly, it's not that completely my miseries will end or my sufferings will stop or my problems will not exist anymore. But I'll develop the ability to rise above my problems. So much so that I can now not be, pulled down by that negative energy which is there associated with the problems. And I can at least desire of a better life. So it's even difficult to develop a higher desire. Some people they can't even desire something big, you know. The reason being their mind is too absorbed in solving those petty problems of life. And they're struggling very hard just to solve those petty problems in life.
Yes,
Isn't it?
Pooja.
So one has to develop some gratitude and rise above those petty things. Otherwise, you see, most of the people in this world, they are unnecessarily miserable. Unnecessarily miserable. Why? Because unnecessarily they are behind solving very small, tiny, tiny problems actually. And because they are not able to always do that, they are miserable. So one has to rise above that and then aspire for something very high, something wonderful.
Prabhuji, if Maya slaps you every time, does that mean you have to take the shelter of Krishna, or you become miserable? So, means how to deal with this? Means how do should we take it that Maya is slapping us? Let's say our job gets every time we get fired, so or something like that, or other problems are also there. So I feel Maya is slapping so that I surrender to Krishna. But if we are feeling miserable, then is it means how to take it?
Take it as your karma, something which is supposed to come to your life because of your past karma, and accept it. When you accept it, mind becomes peaceful. If you don't accept it, mind is always fighting inside. Why it happened? It should not have happened. So you accept it. When you accept, mind becomes peaceful because I have accepted it. You know. So then when it becomes peaceful, then you can focus the mind on something else also. Otherwise, you can't focus the mind on something else. Anyway, by fighting internally with that situation, this problem is not going to get solved, isn't it? So you have to take a back step sometimes. And also one more thing, sometimes when your time is not good, you should know that that much period of time I have to anyway get beaten by such problems and because in every person's individual life, there are phases when the time is good for you and time is not so good for you. So there are times when you will only fail and fail and fail and fail and fail. And there are times when you will only succeed and succeed and succeed and succeed, isn't it? And that kind of time comes in everyone's life, actually. Sometimes you may work very hard, still you are failing. Sometimes you don't do anything, you sit and still you are succeeding. So what does Krishna say in Bhagavad Gita? 2.14 Matra Sparshasthu Kaunteya Sitoshna Sukha Dukkada Agama Paino Nitya Stamti Shiksha Bharata. Just like the summer season comes, then winter comes. Similarly, good time also come, bad time also come. So what one has to do? One has to be tolerant. And what is that tolerance? That tolerance is you accept it and you tell yourself, don't worry. If it's a bad time, it is going to go. Don't worry so much. It will go. It's not permanent. It will go. So don't get too bothered about it. Right? It will go. Just like, for example, giving a simple example. If you are taking a train journey, a long distance train journey, you know, and sometimes the kid may become very bored in the train journey. So what will the mother say? Uh, Dear child, don't worry, the station is coming soon. Don't worry, just after few hours you are going to be there. So when you start thinking like this, what happens? Fine, no problem. My problem is going to end soon. It's not an eternal problem. So the mind becomes little passive, right? So that's how one has to tell oneself. It's okay. The bad time is going to end soon. Don't worry. Okay. Fine. Next. Yes, I was reading, isn't it? I'll continue. One must remember the form of Krishna. If he quits his body thinking of this form, he surely approaches the spiritual kingdom. Mad Bhavam refers to the supreme nature of the supreme being. The supreme being is Satchidananda Vigraha. That is, his form is eternal, full of knowledge and bliss. Our present body is not Satchidananda, it is Asat, not Sat. It is not eternal. It is perishable. It is not Chit, full of knowledge, but it is full of ignorance. We have no knowledge of the spiritual kingdom, nor do we have even perfect knowledge of this material world, where there are so many things unknown to us. The body is called Nirananda. Instead of being full of bliss, it is full of misery. All of the miseries we experience in the material world arise from the body. But one who leaves this body thinking of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, at once attains a Satchit Ananda body. So, what is the lesson from this paragraph? One has to cultivate remembrance of Krishna, not an imagined form of Krishna, but the Satchidananda form of Krishna. Hmm. Next paragraph. Kaladini Gopi Mataji.
The process of quitting this body and getting another body in the material world is also organized. A man dies after it has been decided what form of body he will have in the next life. Higher authorities, not the living entity himself, make this decision. According to our activities in this life, we either rise or sink. This life is preparation for the next life. If we can prepare, therefore, in this life to get a promotion to the kingdom of God, then surely after quitting this material body, we will attain a spiritual body just like the Lord's. As explained before, there are different kinds of transcendentalists: the Brahmavadi, Paramatmavadi, and the devotee. And as mentioned in the Brahma Jyoti spiritual sky, There are innumerable spiritual planets. The number of these planets is far, far greater than all the planets of this material world. This material world has been approximated as only 1/4 of the creation. Comes in as Titu Jagat. In this material segment, there are millions and billions of universes with trillions of planets and suns and stars and moons. But this whole material creation is only a fragment of the total creation. Most of the creation is in the spiritual sky. One who desires to merge into this existence of the Supreme Brahman is at once transferred to the Brahmajyoti of the Supreme Lord and thus attains the spiritual sky. The devotee who wants to enjoy the association of the Lord enters into the Vaikuntha planet, which are innumerable, and the Supreme Lord, by his planetary expansion as Narayana, with 4 hands and with different names like Pradyumna, Aniruddha, and Govinda, associates with him there. Therefore, at the end of the life, the transcendentalists think either of the Brahmajyoti, the Paramatma, or the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. In all cases, they enter into a spiritual sky, but only the devotee or he who is in personal touch with the Supreme Lord enters in the Vaikuntha planet or the Goloka Vrindavan planet. The Lord further adds that of this there is no doubt. This must be believed firmly. We should not reject that which does not tally with our imagination. Our attitude should be that of Arjuna. I believe everything that you have said. Therefore, when the Lord says that at the time of death, whoever thinks of him as Brahman or Paramatma or as personality of Godhead certainly enters into the spiritual sky, and there is no doubt about it. There is no question of believing it.
Disbelieving. Thank you.
Disbelieving.
Um, Srila Prabhupada explains that the process of quitting this body and getting another body is organized. Huh? As we are living our life, our next body is already getting planned, isn't it? Like to give you a very simple example. Let's say you are living in a big metropolitan city. Now you are living in a house, 3 BHK or 4 BHK. Fine. So you need a monthly source of income to a particular amount to live in that house. Now suddenly you become little crazy. Crazy in the sense you become irresponsible, you stop going to the job. Yeah. So by doing that, what are you doing? You're already now creating a future where you can't live in that 4 BHK house anymore. Isn't it? Correct? So very soon, what will happen to such a person? He will come from 4 BHK to 2 BHK. And if he continues to be crazy like that in 2 BHK house, from 2 BHK to 1 BHK or studio flat. So what I am doing now is already creating my future. Right or wrong? Isn't it? Similarly, how I am living my life at present moment or at present time is creating my life in the future. And that's how my next body is getting created. So if someone is living like a dog in this life, next life, immediately get the dog body. Living like a tiger in this life, next life, get a tiger's body. Right? Living like a demigod in this life, next life, get a demigod's body. Living like a devotee in this life, next life, get an eternal body of devotee. Hmm. So one is doing that. And that's why we should be so conscious of what we are doing, how we are doing, you know, because we are creating the next life because of that. Right? And then here it is mentioned that if you want to enter into spiritual world, which is much bigger than the material world, then one needs to have a personal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Without that personal relationship, there is not going to be any invitation to us there. Only when Krishna or a pure devotee of Krishna who is a resident of Golok Dham invite us that you come here and you can stay here, then we can enter into spiritual world or spiritual abode. It's not just, okay, I chant some rounds and I'll go back home back to Godhead. No, one has to actually develop a relationship with Krishna, or a pure representative of Krishna who has already, you know, occupied a permanent place of residence in Krishna Loka. And that relationship becomes the door to enter into Golokdham, isn't it? So here Prabhupada is saying one needs to have personal relationship with Krishna, a personal touch with the Supreme Lord. What is that personal touch? That personal touch means you are in a relationship with the Supreme Lord. Krishna knows you. Then you get a chance to enter into Golok Dham, right? Or Golok Vrindavan planet. So there's no question of disbelieving this, right? The next paragraph. Prithvija Mataji.
The Bhagavad Gita 8.6 also explains the general principle that makes it possible to enter the spiritual kingdom simply by thinking of the Supreme at the time of death. Yam yam vapi smaran bhavam yajate antekale varam tam tam evaiti bhavanteya sada tad bhava bhavita. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his present body, in his next life he will attain to that state without pain. Now, first we must understand that material nature is a display of one of the energies of the Supreme Lord. In the Vishnu Purana 6.7.61, the total energies of the Supreme Lord are delineated. Vishnu Shakti Para Prokta Kshetrajnakya Tada Para Avidya Karma Samjnanaya Tritiya Shaktir Ishyate. The Supreme Lord has diverse and innumerable energies which are beyond our conception. However, great learned sages or liberated souls have studied these energies and have analyzed them into three parts. All of the energies are of Vishnu Shakti. That is to say that they are different potencies of Lord Vishnu. The first energy is Para, transcendental, living entities also being to the superior energy, as has already been explained. The other energies of material energies are in the mode of ignorance. At the time of death, either we can remain in the inferior energy of this material world or we can transfer to the energy of the spiritual world.
Thank you,
Should I?
Mataji. So here Prabhupada explains that this is a general process. If you remember Krishna, you go to Krishna. If you remember something else, you get that. Yam yam bhapi swaran bhavi. So we should know that's how things get created. First of all, a thing is created in the form of a thought. Then that thing gets manifested in the form of a reality. First of all, it's a thought. And what is a thought? A thought is basically a mental sound. So it all begins with just like how does a plant grow? The beginning of a plant is in the form of a seed, isn't it? That seed is going to become a plant in future. Similarly, my thoughts, my desires are like seeds, and those seeds are going to sprout into a reality in the future. You know? So if I can develop those, uh, I can get those seeds or somehow other, I have those seeds of these wonderful spiritual desires, then that will also become a reality in our future life. Mhm. Therefore, one thing is very important to understand that Srila Prabhupada, he did not come to this world to just teach people, some um, moral principles and how to be happy in this material world. You see, most of uh, we don't want to criticize anyone or offend anyone, but most of the gurus, spiritual gurus you meet in this world, what is their message to you? Whatever we are telling you will make your life happy in this world. Okay. For example, live a sattvic life. Now, live a sattvic life for what reason? For what reason? To be to have a happy life in this world. You know, generally most of the gurus, what are they teaching? Right? You'll have a healthy body, you'll have a healthy mind, right? And all that. But at the end, what? At the end, you'll be a happy person on this planet, isn't it? So most of the personalities who are giving spiritual message to people, the goal of that spiritual message is you become happy here. You do yoga for what reason? To become happy here. You do meditation for what reason? You become happy here. You do accept a sattvic diet for what reason? You become happy here. You move from city life to a rural life, a more natural farm-based life for what reason? You become happy in this world, isn't it? So it's all about being happy, but where? In this world, you know, in this world, correct? But Srila Prabhupada, what desire he gave to the people of this world, you can become happy, but for that you have to go to a different world. And such a world exists. And you should plan to go there. You should desire to go there, not just be happy here, isn't it? And very few sadhus, they explicitly and very clearly express this kind of thing in their presentation of spirituality. Very few spiritual teachers, they explicitly talk about, right? So Srila Prabhupada did not just teach people how to live in this world. He gave them a higher aspiration, an aspiration beyond their imagination, you know, right?
Prabhuji, how to live in this world?
Huh?
How to live in this world?
Uh, how to live in this world means?
Means, like you said, we should have desires. Like we have listened, we should not have material desires. So
We should have spiritual desires.
what kind of desires we should have?
Spiritual
And
desires, desires related to Krishna consciousness. Mhm.
but
So
like
Srila Prabhupada gave us an opportunity to have such desires. And so
so
that is
is women earning for the living bad, Prabhuji? Or means nowadays, like earlier, men are not like. So women cannot be dependent on anyone. Like
that is
in
not the
Prabhupada,
topic we are discussing, right? That is not the topic. Earning, not earning, that is a problem just for maintaining yourself. You may have to earn money. That's okay. If you have to earn, you earn. If you don't have to earn, you don't earn. That has got nothing to do with your spiritual desires or spiritual life. You know, two things are there. One is maintaining your body and mind. For that, you need to do certain things that you do. Spiritual life doesn't mean completely getting free from those duties. You know, that is not spiritual life. That you have to anyway do because you have a body to maintain. It's all about aspiration. Aspiration means what? In your mind, what is happening? What is going on? In your heart, what is going on? Externally, one may be just a normal person doing a job and all that. But in the heart, what are the aspirations? That decides your consciousness. You know, see, this is something very important, Shweta Mataji. We all should know. As practitioners in Krishna consciousness, we all do the mistake which Arjuna is trying to do. What is Arjuna's mistake here on the battlefield? What is Arjuna's mistake?
Only thinking of his body, current body, and the relationship with that.
Okay, can you go more deep into the
he wants
analysis of?
We want to leave
don't
the
want to do his karma.
What is his situation? What is his problem? He is looking for a superficial solution. I'll change my situation, my problem will get solved. I leave the battlefield, my problem will get solved. And most of us are doing that only in our life. A problem comes, we start looking for a superficial solution, isn't it? So, but the point is, looking for a superficial solution will not eternally and completely remove the problem from our life. It is only change the problem's mode or type, but problem will remain, right? So if you are thinking, okay, a woman in this world at the present time has to work to maintain herself. So do you think if in your life a situation is arranged that you don't have to work and you will just sit in one place and your monthly expenses will be covered by someone else, so all your problems will get solved? No. Understanding? Then some other type of problems will start coming. Huh? So what we do is we always try to look for a very immediate and superficial solution. And that's not going to really change the game. You know? So what Krishna is teaching Arjuna is you need to have two lives going parallelly. One an internal life, one an external life. Right? Like Arjuna, externally, what is his life? He's a Kshatriya, fighting on the battlefield, right? Doing his duty. I mean, if you are fighting as a Kshatriya, don't you have to be focused on the act of fighting? You have to be. Otherwise, how can you fight properly? Isn't it? Was it an easy thing to fight? No. I mean, so much of anxiety from here, arrow is coming from here, this is coming, so much is there. Huh? So he's totally absorbed in the external world, like that we also have an external world, our financial problem, our emotional problem, our family problem, our personal problem, our health problem, and this problem, that problem. We have an external world. And Arjuna also had an external world. So Arjuna is fully focused in the external world, doing his things. At the same time, Arjuna has an internal state of mind also. And what is that internal state? Krishna is saying, Arjuna, Mamanusmara Yudhyacha. Externally you fight, but internally you always remember me. Right? Mm. So, like that, we also have these two things. One is externally, maybe you are struggling as a single woman, maybe you are struggling as a single man, maybe you are struggling as a married woman, maybe you are struggling as a married man, maybe you are struggling as a parent, maybe you are struggling as a child, maybe you are struggling as an employer, as an employee, you're struggling with health, with finance, with this, with that. That is the external thing, and that will always remain. Don't think that you become pure devotee, this will stop. Arjuna is a pure devotee, it's not stopping. Bhishma Pitama is a pure devotee, it's not stopping. Srila Prabhupada was a pure devotee, it never stopped for him. So for me also, it's going to stop? Never. It will be there, always there, right? But then along with my struggle on this external platform, internally I have to develop higher aspirations, Krishna conscious aspirations. And generally, we as newcomers to Krishna consciousness think that if I become a devotee, pure devotee, everything will be sorted. Internally also happy, externally also always happy. The way I want everything, that's how everything will happen. No, not at all. Never, right? So externally, the challenges will always exist. So therefore, you have to accept that as your karma and just be happy with that, okay with that. But internally, you can have the best of the imaginative dreams in Krishna consciousness. That is possible, you know, right? And that's what Srila Prabhupada is offering us. not the external thing. Don't think the external thing is the solution. It's not the solution. An internal thing is the solution, right? Isn't it? So we have to focus on that internal thing. Fine? External problems will always exist. You can't do away with that. Internally, you can change your state of mind. Fine. Next paragraph. Abhesina, please read.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji Dandat Pranam. Whatever state of being one remembers when he quits his present body, in his next life he will attain to that state without fail. In life, we are accustomed to thinking either of the material or of the spiritual energy. Now, how can we transfer our thoughts from the material energy to the spiritual energy? There are so many literatures which fill our thoughts with the material energy, newspapers, magazines, novels. Our thinking, which is now absorbed in these literatures, must be transferred to the Vedic literatures. The great sages, therefore, have written so many Vedic literatures, such as the Puranas. The Puranas are not imaginative, they are the historical records. In Chetan Charimita Madhya 20.122, there is the following verse. माया मुग्धा जीवेर नाही स्वतः कृष्णा जाना ज्ञाना जीवेर कृपा कोइले Krishna Veda Purana. The forgetful living entities or conditioned souls have forgotten their relationship with the Supreme Lord and they are engrossed in thinking of material activities. Just to transfer their thinking power to the spiritual sky, Krishna Dvaipampayana Vyasa has given a great number of Vedic literature. First, he divided the Vedas into four, then he explained them in the Puranas, and for less capable people, he wrote the Mahabharata. In the Mahabharata, there is given the Bhagavad-Gita. Then all Vedic literature is summarized in the Vedanta Sutra, and for future guidance, he gave a natural commentation on the Vedanta Sutra called Srimad Bhagavatam. We must always engage our minds in reading these Vedic literature, just as materialists engage their minds in reading newspapers, magazines, and so many materialistic literature. We must transfer our reading to these literatures, which are given to us by Vyasdev. In that way, it will be possible for us to remember the Supreme Lord at the time of death. That is the that is the only way suggested by the Lord, and He guarantees the result. There is no doubt. Tasmat sarvesu kalesu mam mam anushmara yuddhacha mai arpita mano buddhir mam ivasyasi asamsaya. Therefore, Arjuna, you should always think of me in the form of Krishna, and at the same time continue your prescribed duty of fighting. With your activities dedicated to me and your mind and intelligence fixed on me, you will attain me without doubt. Bhagavad Gita 8.7.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Should I continue,
So
Prabhuji?
here,
Thank you.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So here now Srila
Hare Krishna.
Prabhupada is giving us the solution. How to transfer our thoughts from material to spiritual? How to change our thinking? How do we do that? So that for that reason there are scriptures. You know, it's like you want to know something about India, what is happening in India, the current events. What do? You hear the news related to India. You want to know what's going on in America, you hear the news of that country. So then you become aware of the current events there, right? Isn't it? So now if you want to know about the spiritual world, you read about the events there. What is happening there? Who is living there? Right? Who dresses how? Who behaves in what manner? How do they talk? How do they deal with each other? So you have to transfer your thinking to that place, isn't it? And that's why the scriptures are written, to change our thinking, to change the area of our thinking. Where is our thinking? Right? Understanding? Hmm. So for that reason, no? And therefore there are so many scriptures given description of so many pastimes of Krishna, activities, and what one has to do? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mamanasmara yuddhacha. While we are engaging in our duties, internally our mind should be somewhere else. But can you do that without practicing sufficiently? No. That requires practice. Abhyasa. And therefore, Prabhupada would say in the next paragraph, this is possible only if you have a strong sense of love for Krishna. Otherwise, not possible. Right? Next paragraph. Sharadam.
He does not advise Arjuna simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No, the Lord never suggests anything impractical. In this material world, in order to maintain the body, one has to work. Human society is divided according to work into four divisions of social order: Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra. The Brahmana class or intelligent class is working in one way, and the Kshatriya or administrative class is working in another way, and the mercantile and the laborers are all tending to their specific duties. In the human society, whether one is a laborer, merchant, administrator, or farmer, or even if one belongs to the highest class and is a literary man, a scientist, or a theologian, he has to work in the order in order to maintain his existence. The Lord therefore tells Arjuna that he need not give up his occupation, but while he is engaged in this occupation, he should remember Krishna, Mam Anusmara. If he doesn't practice remembering Krishna while he is struggling for existence, then it will not be possible for him to remember Krishna at the time of death. Lord Chaitanya also advises this. He says, Kirtaniya Sada Harihi. One should practice chanting the holy names of the Lord always. The names of the Lord and the Lord are non-different. So Lord Krishna's instructions to Arjuna to remember me and Lord Chaitanya's injunction to always chant the names of Lord Krishna are the same instruction. There is no difference because
Yeah.
Krishna, yes.
Okay,
Therefore,
complete the thing.
there is no difference because Krishna and Krishna's name are not different. In the
Yeah,
absolute status, I'm sorry.
yeah, please complete it.
In the absolute status, there is no difference between reference and referent. Therefore, we have to practice remembering the Lord always, 24 hours a day, by chanting his names and molding our life's activities in such a way that we can remember him always. Hare Krishna.
Yes, so have you understood this paragraph? Very clearly, Srila Prabhupada is saying that why did Krishna tell Arjuna you should fight and then remember me? Because it's not going to be easy to remember Krishna at the time of death, because death is a very challenging moment. So, so therefore, some people, sometimes, not, maybe sometimes everyone, or sometimes some people only, they come in this phase of their Krishna consciousness where they start thinking that if my life becomes easy, then I'll be able to practice bhakti more. Hmm. And they're always thinking like that, that if I change this, then my bhakti will become better. If I change that, then my bhakti will become better. Hmm. But what Krishna is trying to say is that, yes, sometimes if the problem is too big and your mind is too absorbed in the problem, then you may have to really uh, get rid of the problem so that the mind is little peaceful. But if you're always in the zone of, you know, uh, coming in that state of living where there is nothing going wrong, absolutely is everything is absolutely fine, then you are unnecessarily making yourself a weak person who cannot remember Krishna at difficult times. Therefore, the best thing is, however hard life is, let it be so. But try to cultivate Krishna consciousness in that situation. That's what Krishna is telling Arjuna. Fight, don't escape, don't run away, fight, but be Krishna conscious. You know, and in that way, he's asking every one of us to do that. And then Srila Prabhupada is saying, because Krishna's instruction to Arjuna is not somehow to just complete your 16 rounds and you're done. No, his instruction is always remember me, right? Always remember me. That means what? Throughout the day, whatever you are doing, remember me. You know. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu therefore said, Kirtaniya 16 rounds. Kirtaniya Sadahari. You know. So somehow the completing 60 rounds is okay, easy. But Kirtaniya Sadahari is not easy, isn't it? So that's what we have to work towards, which means it's a Herculean task actually. It's a big task. It's a big task. And therefore, if you want to achieve, there is a very nice statement that uh, Einstein made that statement, right? He said, if your mind has created a problem, then you need a bigger mind to solve it. Correct? Similarly, if I'm operating in a certain manner, I can attain a certain level of goal only. If I want to attain a higher goal, then I have to change my mode of operation also. If I keep my mode of operation same, I cannot attain a higher goal, right or wrong? You understand that, isn't it? For example, you go to gym, you are operating in a certain manner. By doing that, maybe you can come to the level of lifting 20 kilos. Now, if you continue to operate like that, you can lift only 20 kilos. You cannot go to 40 kilos. If you want to go to 40 kilos, you'll have to change your mode of operation. Isn't it correct? Huh? So, uh, if we are successful in standing our 16 rounds, we are operating in a certain manner. If you think you continue to operate in the same manner and you'll be able to remember Krishna 24 hours a day, it's not going to happen. For that, one has to operate in a different manner. And how do you operate in for that? That here is being taught. While you are doing everything you do, remember Krishna. Try to remember Krishna. Mhm. Thank you. That mode of operation one has to learn, right? Then one can transfer oneself to spiritual world, Krishna's logo. Okay, next paragraph. Krishna Mataji.
He does not advise Arjun simply to remember him and give up his occupation. No. The Lord never suggests anything impractical. Prabhuji, this is done. Prabhuji, this one is done. The next paragraph.
This one is done. Yeah, next paragraph.
How is this possible? The Acharyas give the following example. If a married woman is attached to another man, or if a man has an attachment for a woman other than his wife, then the attachment is to be considered very strong. One with such an attachment is always thinking of the loved one. The wife who is thinking of her lover is always thinking of meeting him, even while she is carrying out her household chores. In fact, she carries out her household work with even more carefully, so her husband will not suspect her attachment. Similarly, we should always remember the Supreme Lover Sri Krishna and at the same time perform our material duties very nicely. A strong sense of love is required here. If we have a strong sense of love for the Supreme Lord, then we can discharge our duty and at the same time remember Him. But we have to develop that sense of love. Arjun, for instance, was always thinking of Krishna. He was the constant companion of Krishna, and at the same time, he was a warrior. Krishna did not advise him to give up fighting and go to the forest to meditate. When Lord Krishna delineates the yoga system to Arjun, Arjun says that the practice of the system is not possible for him.
Yeah.
Arjun, should I read Prabhuji?
Okay.
Arjun Uvacha, Yoyam yogastvaya prokta samyena madhusudana etashyamam na pashyami chanchalatvat sthitam shiram. Arjun said, O Madhusudana, the system of yoga which you have summarized appears impractical and unendurable to me, for the mind is restless and unsteady. Bhagavad-Gita 6.33. But the Lord says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam same yuktatma matah. Of all yogis, the one with great faith who always abides in me, thinks of me within himself and renders transcendental loving service to him, is the most intimately united with me in yoga and is the highest of all. That is my opinion. Bhagavad Gita 6.47. So one who thinks of the Supreme Lord always is the greatest yogi, the supermost jnani, and the greatest devotee at the same time. The Lord further tells Arjun that as a Kshatriya, he cannot give up his fighting. But if Arjun fights remembering Krishna, then he will be able to remember Krishna at the time of death. But one must be completely surrendered in the transcendental loving service of the Lord.
Thank you, Mataji. So here, again, Srila Prabhupada is saying the acharyas are giving us an example of a married woman attached to another man. And in that sense, in that case, the attachment has to be very, very strong. Otherwise, how can she, externally do everything required to do as a married woman, but internally she is thinking of some other man? That means her attachment to that person is so strong that the mind goes there despite of what she is doing externally. So Shilpati is saying that this remembrance of Krishna while you are doing everything else in life is only possible if you have a very strong sense of love for Krishna. Otherwise, it's not possible. Right? Only if you have a very strong sense of love, then it is possible. So then he's saying one has to develop that kind of love for Krishna. And that's what Krishna is demanding from Arjuna. Then you develop that kind of love for me. Which means what? Here, the love has a greater intensity, isn't it? It has a greater intensity. Then only it is possible. So Krishna is telling Arjuna to develop love of that intensity. And then it is said, if one has developed such an intensity of love, then one can remember Krishna at the time of death. Mhm. Okay, then it's possible. Next paragraph, Tulasi Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu pranams. We work not with our body, actually, but with our mind and in intelligence. So, if the intelligence and the mind are always engaged in the thought of the Supreme Lord, then naturally the senses are also engaged in His service. Superficially, at least, the activities of the senses remain the same, but the consciousness is changed. The Bhagavad-Gita teaches one how to absorb the mind and intelligence in the thought of the Lord. Such absorption will enable one to transfer himself to the kingdom of the Lord. If the mind is engaged in Krishna's service, then the senses are automatically engaged in his service. This is the art, and this is also the secret of Bhagavad Gita. Total absorption in the thought of Sri Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So first one has to learn to engage the mind. If mind is engaged, the senses will automatically get engaged. Fine. So that is the secret. To engage the mind, the senses will get engaged. Externally, it may appear that person is doing the same thing, but internally, that person is doing it differently. This is very important. You see, Rath Yatra happened, Jagannath Puri. It has been happening for, I mean, so many years, and so many people go to Rath Yatra. Everyone is participating in Rath Yatra. But when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu participated in Rath Yatra, he participated in a totally different consciousness. Externally, everyone doing the same thing. Internally, everyone has a different state of mind. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is participating in Rath Yatra, is absorbed in Vrindavan consciousness. Similarly, everyone is on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Millions and millions of soldiers. All are fighting. It's not that someone is playing their chess. No, everyone is fighting. Correct? Doing the same thing. But Arjuna is in a different state of mind. Fighting, but internally different. Similarly, you are going to a company for job. Thousands of people are working there. But you might be different from. Externally, all are doing the same thing. But internally, in your mind, you are not the same with them. Like I'm traveling in a bus, 50 people are traveling in the bus. All are on the same bus, maybe going to the same place. But in the mind, I might be different than all of them. So this is what we have to learn, that internal thing, you know, that internal thing, not the external thing, the internal thing. We may go to temple, like you go to Vrindavan, there is Bhakya Bihari temple. A thief is also going to the same temple to pickpocket, right? It's a temple, but is everyone having the same mind there in that temple? No. One has come to pickpocket. One has come to take darshan of the Lord. Hmm. So that's what Krishna is saying. You change this internal thing. That's more important, right? And that's the secret of Bhagavad Gita. Total absorption in the thought of Shri Krishna.
Prabhuji, is it like we internally we all have patterns in the mind, different patterns made by our sanskaras, by our experiences, everything. So, is it possible to change those patterns to Krishna conscious patterns?
Yeah, it is possible. For that we dovetail. We align those things in Krishna's service. And that's how the pattern gets changed. Mm. That is called dovetailing. So, for example, you like to make flower garlands. So you make flower garlands, but then you make it for Krishna. Mhm. You would like to construct a house, but for whom? For Krishna. So what you like to do, what is your nature, what is your pattern that you use in Krishna Seva? You would like to bake cakes, you bake cakes. For whom? For Krishna. Right? So whatever your patterns are, which you can do naturally, easily, happily, use that for Krishna. Hmm. Srila Prabhupada got this lady whose name was Jude. He gave him the name Jadurani. Srila Prabhupada saw that she has some, inclination of, and she was towards painting. So she was, okay, now you paint Krishna. Uh, So that's how we dovetail our nature in Krishna Seva. Okay. Mm. If you're an accountant, you can take care of accounts. Then do some accounting for Krishna service. In that way, you're engaging your nature of accounting in that. Mm. I like that. We have to dovetail. Next paragraph. Shweta Mata, you want to read?
Okay. Modern man has struggled very hard to reach the moon, but he has not tried very hard to elevate himself spiritually. If one has 50 years of life ahead of him, he should engage that brief time in cultivating the practice of remembering the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This practice is the devotional service. Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu Smarnam Padasevanam Archanam Vandanam Dasyam Sakhyam Atma Nivedanam. The Srimad Bhagavatam 7.5.23. These nine processes of which Okay. These nine processes of which the easiest is Shravanam, hearing the Bhagavad Gita from the realized person, will turn one to the thought of Supreme Being. This will lead to remembering the Supreme Lord and will enable, upon leaving the body, to attain a spiritual body which is just fit for association of Supreme Lord. The Lord further says, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena चेतसा नन्यागमिना परम परमं पुरुषं दिव्यं यति पार्थानुचिन्तयन्. He who meditates on me as Supreme Personality of Godhead, his mind constantly engaged in remembering me undeviated from the path, he, O Arjuna, is sure to reach me. Bhagavad Gita 8.8. Prabhuji, next I should read or
Thank you. So it sounds difficult, always remembering Krishna while doing everything you are supposed to do. So therefore Krishna says, Abhyasa Yoga Yuktena. It will require practice, Arjuna. It will need practice. We have to do practice. Abhyas. You know, we have to put endeavors for that, isn't it? So one has to do that. So how do you do? Chetasa Nanya. Don't let your mind go to something else. Whenever it goes, bring it back. Na Anyagamina. Bring it to the thought of Krishna or things related to Krishna. Hmm. This is not a very difficult process. Priyanka Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna. This is not a very difficult process. However, one must learn it from an experienced person. Tad vijnanartham sagurum iva bhigachyat. One must approach a person who is already in the practice. The mind is always flying to this and that, but one must practice concentrating the mind always on the form of the Supreme Lord, Shri Krishna. or on the sound of his name. The mind is naturally restless, going hither and thither, but it can rest in the sound vibration of Krishna. One must thus meditate on Paramam Purusham, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in the spiritual kingdom, the spiritual sky, and thus attain him. The ways and the means of ultimate realization, ultimate attainment, are stated in Bhagavad Gita, and the doors of this knowledge are open for everyone. No one is barred out. All classes of men can approach Lord Krishna by thinking of him, for hearing and thinking of him are possible for everyone. The Lord further says, Bhagavad Gita 9.32-33, Mam hi partha vyapas ritya ye pi syu papayonah sthiryo vaishyas tatha sudras te pi yanti param gatim. Kim punar brahmana punya bhakta rajarsayas tatha anityam ashukam lokam imam prapya vajasvamam. Thus the Lord say that even a merchant, a fallen woman, or a laborer, or even human beings in the lowest status of life can attain the supreme. One does not need highly developed intelligence. The point is that anyone who accepts the principle of bhakti yoga and accepts the Supreme Lord as the ultimate goal can approach the Lord in the spiritual sky. If one adopts the principles enunciated in Bhagavad Gita, he can make his life perfect and make permanent solution to all the problems of life. This is the sum and substance of entire Bhagavad Gita.
Thank you. Next, Anadri Gopal.
In conclusion, Bhagavad Gita is a transcendental literature which one should read very carefully. Gita Shastram idam punyam ya pathet prayatah puman. If one properly follows the instructions of Bhagavad Gita, one can be freed from all the miseries and anxieties of life. Bhaya Sapodhi Viljita. One will be free from all fears in this life, and one's next life will be spiritual. Gita Mahatmya 1. There is also a further advantage. Gita Dhyayana Silyasa Pranayama Parasyacha Neva Santihi Papani Purva Janma Tirtanicha. If one reads Bhagavad Gita very sincerely and with all seriousness, then by the grace of the Lord, the reaction of his planet, his past misdeeds will not act upon him. Gita Mahatmya 2. The Lord says very loudly in the last portion of Bhagavad Gita, Sarva Dharma Parijit Parityaja Mamekam Sharanam Vraja Aham Tvam Sarva Papebhyo Mokshashami Mashucha. Abandon all varieties of religion, just surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Thus the Lord takes all responsibility for one who surrenders unto him, and he indemnifies such a person against all reactions of sin. Mala, Mala Nirmochanam Pumsam, Jal Snanam Dine Dine, Sakrat Gita Amrita Snanam, Samsara Mala Nasanam. One may cleanse himself daily by taking a bath in water, but if one takes a bath even once in the sacred Ganges water of Bhagavad Gita, for him the dirt of material life is altogether vanquished.
Thank you.
Gita
Thank you.
Mahatma.
So these are verses from Gita Mahatmya written by Adi Shankaracharya, which praise the Bhagavad Gita and tell us the benefits of reading Bhagavad Gita. 7 shlokas. So next one. Sharada Mataji, please read.
Hare Krishna. Because the Bhagavad Gita Sugita Kartavya Kim Anyai Shastra Vistaraihi Ya Swayam Padmanabhasya Mukha Padmad Vinishrita. Because Bhagavad Gita is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one need not read any other Vedic literature. One need only attentively and regularly hear and read Bhagavad Gita. In the present age, people are so absorbed in mundane activities that it is not possible for them to read all the Vedic literatures. But this is not necessary. This one book, Bhagavad Gita, will suffice because it is the essence of all Vedic literatures, and especially because it is spoken by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gita Mahatmyam 4. As it is said, Bharatamrita Sarvasvam Vishnu Vaktrad Vinisritam Gita Gangodakam Pitva Punarjanma Navidyate. One who drinks the water of the Ganges attains salvation. So, what to speak of one who drinks the nectar of Bhagavad Gita? Bhagavad Gita is the essential nectar of the Mahabharata, and it is spoken by Lord Krishna himself, the original Vishnu. Bhagavad Gita comes from the mouth of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and the Ganges is said to emanate from the lotus feet of the Lord. Of course, there is no difference between the mouth and the feet of the Lord. But from an impartial study, you can appreciate that the Bhagavad Gita is even more important than the water of the Ganges.
Thank you. सर्वोपनिषदो गावो दोक्ता गोपालनंदनः पार्थो वत्सः सुधीर भोक्ता दुग्धम गीतामृतमः. This Gita-Upanishad, Bhagavad Gita, the essence of all Upanishads, is just like a cow. And Lord Shri Krishna, who is famous as a cowherd boy, is milking this cow. Arjuna is just like a calf, and learned scholars and pure devotees are to drink the nectarian milk of Bhagavad Gita. एकम शास्त्रम देवकी पुत्र गीतम एकम देवो देवकी पुत्र एव एको मंत्रस्तस्य नामानि यानि कर्माप्येकं तस्य देवस्य सेवा. In this present day, people are very much eager to have one scripture, one God, one religion, and one occupation. Therefore, ekam shastram devaki putra gitam. Let there be one scripture only, one common scripture for the whole world, Bhagavad Gita. Eko Devo Devaki Putra Eva. Let there be one God for the whole world, Sri Krishna. Eko Mantras Tasya Namani, and one hymn, one mantra, one prayer, the chanting of his name. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Karmapi Ekam Tasya Devasya Seva. And let there be one work only, the service of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The disciplic succession. Evam parambara praptam imam rajashaya viduhu. 4.2 Bhagavad Gita. The Bhagavad Gita as it is received through this disciplic succession. So this is the disciplic succession in which Srila Prabhupada is coming. Therefore, it is given here. This is not just the parampara, it is one of the paramparas. There are many paramparas, and this is one parampara, right, in which Srila Prabhupada is coming. The parampara has many branches. Here we get one branch of it. Coming from Krishna to Brahma, Brahma to Narada, Narada to Vyasa. Then from Vyasa, Madhvendrapuri, Madhvacharya got the knowledge. Around 100 years ago, 1000 years ago. And then from Madhvacharya, there is Padmanabh Tirtha, Nihari Tirtha, Madhav Tirtha, Lakshobhya Tirtha, Jaya Tirtha, Jnana Sindhu, Dayanidhi, Vidyanidhi, Rajendra, Jaya Dharma, Purushottama, Brahmanya Tirtha, Vyasa Tirtha, Lakshmipati Tirtha. So these all 19, up to 19 from number 5, they are all Madhva sannyasis coming in Madhva Sampradaya. And all of them have their samadhis in Udupi, Karnataka. Fine. Then after 19, there is Madhendra Puri, a very special divine personality who brought Vraja Bhakti or Vrindavan Bhakti, that mood of Vrindavan Bhakti in this parampara. So then he was the spiritual master of Ishwar Puri. Who was the spiritual master of Lord Chaitanya? Correct. Then the 6 Goswamis, Rupa, Sanatan, Sarupa, Raghunath Jiva, Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami, Narottam Das Thakur, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Baldev Vidya Bhushan Jagannath Das Babaji, Bhakti Manor Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and then A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami. Okay. Okay. So that's the disciplic succession. Okay, let's stop here. Any questions or comments, Fatima? Yes, Krishna Mataji.
Prabhuji, I had this question. During the orientation lecture, you had said that a good question would be, how do we go about this course? How do we study well? So could you please answer it again?
What is the question? How do we?
Uh, how could we best benefit of this course? How could we study it the most ideal way?
Did we not tell that during the orientation?
No, Prabhuji.
Okay. So the best would be that we, before the class begins, we should read that section which we are going to discuss, um, and if we have any questions, we can note them down during the class. We can inquire, and then we read that section and once again after the class. Hmm. I mean, for Bhakti Shastri, that should be enough. And if you want to then do a more deeper study of the scripture, then for that you have to um, try to learn it more. How? Let's say we are studying chapter 1 from next class. Chapter 1 has only 46 verses.
Yes.
So if you really want to deeply understand chapter 1, try to memorize at least the English of every single verse of chapter 1. Mm. Memorize here doesn't mean that you have to literally memorize. Memorize means at least have that flow of how in the chapter 1, the verse 1 connects to verse 2, verse 2 to verse 3, verse 3 to verse 4 to 5, and to verse number 46. So why that is needed? Because you see, this the study we do is at different levels. One is just memorizing something. That is also part of study. Then the other is understanding something. That is also part of study. But the third thing is application of that thing in your life, which is also part of study. Mm. Now, to apply, you need to first have it with you. Like to give you an example, uh, any food item is very nutritious, but can you take the nutrition from it without putting it in your mouth?
No.
No. And after you put it in the mouth, is that sufficient?
We'll have to chew it.
You have to chew it. Then it has to go to the stomach. The stomach will digest and then take the nutrients out of it and then will circulate throughout the body, right? So similarly, if you want to get the best of anything, then you have to have it inside you,
Yes.
right? So if you want to digest chapter number 1, the chapter number 1 should be in your mind.
Yes.
Then you can understand it and learn it the best. So how do you have it in your mind? We cannot memorize the Sanskrit if that's difficult. At least we should have the English in our mind.
Yes.
Now, once it in your mind, then you are sitting idle. You can think of those verses 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the connection. And now this is the chewing and digestion thing that is happening. You're chewing it and you're digesting it.
Yes.
Then you understand it much better than just reading it, memorizing it, understanding it. Then you have a more deeper, what do you call it, perception of it. And that's how you understand any subject.
Okay, Prabhuji.
So
Thank you.
if you do that for whatever we do in Bhakti Shastri, then you will understand every single thing more deeply.
Okay. धन्यवाद.
Anything else? Stop here. Then see you next week. Hare Krishna.